This episode is sponsored by Fairfax Football Academy, the best QB training and development in all of Northern Virginia. Follow on Instagram at Fairfax Football Academy. You'll be happy that you did. All right, welcome back to All Hitches, Nova's #1 football podcast. Coach Mesa, happy weekend to you, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Rocking the LA Dodgers. Celebrate the World Series win there for my favorite baseball team. Go Blue. Go Blue. Exciting.
We love LA.
And just like every LA championship, looting happened. Woo! As my man Tupac said in LA, we riot, not rally.
Look at that. Look at that. Well, like Randy Newman said, we love LA.
We do. Yeah. So I mean, good weekend. It's always a good weekend, right? When your team wins a championship. So excited too.
Yeah.
And then now with social media, you get to watch all the other people be sad, which always. my wife felt bad for him. She was like, because I'm a Niner fan, obviously, and we're Niner fans. And she was like, I felt kind of bad watching that because that's what we felt last year when we lost the Chiefs. And I said, you know what? Just like Cobra Kai, no mercy.
No mercy.
Mercy's for the weak.
That's right. No mercy.
We do not practice mercy in this dojo.
That's right.
Yeah,
well, so you had a good weekend. You had a good week. You enjoy your Halloween.
I did. Not a lot of trick or treaters. I think we talked about this a little in the live. I didn't get a lot of trick or treaters this year.
Yeah, I got
I
3.
think you didn't either, right?
Got 3, buddy. 3.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Those 3 kids, like I said the other day, those 3 kids walked away with multiple full-sizers, buddy. We do full-size Kit Kats, full-size Twix, full-size Reese's at the Dash household.
Look at you guys. But so this is my wife's first year teaching in the same neighborhood where she teaches at.
Oh yeah.
So we had one student drop by.
Nice.
We had one student drop by, and it's always weird, when they see you out in the wild. It's kind of hard for them to kind of process that you don't just live in your classroom.
Right, live like a hermit living in the cave of the classroom. One of the more popular candies that the kids picked. I had this tray. Right, it was a Costco box of full size bars, but I was surprised. The Sour Patch Kids were the popular ones.
Yeah. So I do this exercise in my class where we talk about like how hard it is to come to a 100% consensus.
Yeah,
the kids love the Sour Patch Kids.
They do. I mean, it's all right, but I mean, if I'm seeing Reese's, full-size Kit Kat, full-size Twix, that's not even a contest, buddy. Not even a contest.
I think this generation's not big on the chocolate.
Yeah, well, they're weak. It's weak. Was what I say.
and you know what? And mercy is for the weak.
That's right. Well, speaking of our live, we did our first live the other day. That was kind of fun. I was a little intimidated by technology because we fit in that age group that is very intimidated by technology.
Actually, I don't think we do. I think we are more adept to it than most, just because you and I grew up in an era where our parents didn't know anything about it, and if they brought something home, we were the ones who had to figure out how to work it and explain to our parents, who were like,
Well, I said intimidated by it. We are willing to do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, you and I had the capacity to go live the whole season, but we were like, we don't need to get into all that. And then we were like, fine, let's just do it. Let's just give it a shot. Brought it up, did it. It was easy. So we'll be doing it again. Matter of fact, right? We were just talking about this, and we kind of said all there is to say about all the Hayfield stuff and the VHSL stuff.
What we know so far,
right?
We know as much as everybody else does,
right? So people might say, "Oh, there's nothing to talk about now." We went live. That show's it's in the books. You can go view the live episode. Now going forward, if there's anything on Monday that happens differently, there's a ruling, then we'll go live on Monday afternoon, Monday evening, and we'll address it. But there's nothing else to address now.
Yeah. So generally join us. We'd like to hear you guys' comments. We'd like to hear what you guys have to say. It was exciting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, whenever we go live, get on there, make some text, make some comments, and that was fun. Talking about people's once we were done with that part of it, people were just talking about games. We talked about Patriot, which we'll get to in a little while, and some of those upsets, and that was fun to talk about. And now that we've seen it, we can maybe try and go live at one of the playoff games.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And anybody out there, if you're willing to have us come out there, and if you'd like us to come out there and do a live on your thing, hit us up, let us know.
I think it'd be fun. We could do, I was thinking about this. We could do a pregame, short,
Yeah.
10, 15 minutes pregame, 10 minutes halftime, and then 10, 15 minutes postgame.
Oh, that'd be really cool. Yeah. Yeah. But again, let us know if that's something you'd like for us to come out and do.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
We'd like to come hang out at your school.
Right. And we'll buy by all,
treat
we know all the media rules, and we just
Yeah.
want to set up a table in the far corner of one of the end zones.
Yeah.
And kind of do our best game day impersonation.
Yeah. Yeah. And treat us as well as I got treated at Woodbridge.
Yeah, free ice cream.
The finest wine and cheese.
That is fantastic. Well, buddy,
I was looking at myself right now. I look like the gym teacher from Beavis and Butthead.
that is fantastic. We mentioned on the live, but the haircut looking fantastic there, buddy. Look, you got the summer cut. Summer cut. It's a bold move. Summer cut in the winter as the cold weather comes in. I like that boldness. Like it. Now, speaking of boldness, we're going to talk about we got some things to talk about here, buddy. We got players of the week. Players of the week.
We only have 2 more of these regular season awards to give. After that,
I know.
Stuff.
And this is our players of the week that is brought to you proudly by Celebrity Deli.
Celebrity Deli.
The home of the Dash and Dan sandwich.
Yeah. From what I understand, everyone's enjoyed it. Nobody's given a bad review so far.
Gotten a lot of texts and a lot of social media about it, and everyone's loving it. Great sandwich. And you can't go wrong. You can get a lot of sandwiches there that are delicious. We just happen to be, partisan towards the Dash and Dan.
Yeah.
And
let them know when you order it, while you're ordering it. Be like, you know what? I heard about it on the All Hitches podcast. I'm here to try it. Let them know. And also, much like Coach Pilson did, tweet at us. Take a picture of it. Tag us. Yeah, let us
for sure.
Let us know.
And I mean, just like the Celebrity Deli, right? I mean, no one piles it on more than our players of the week.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, you want to pile it on a sandwich, you go to Celebrity Deli. You want to see some players who piled it on the field, you go to the players of the week. That's what you do. And we're going to start off with the national. Man, I'll tell you what, it's a great players of the list week this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great list. The National Conference, Matthew Moret, 256 all-purpose yards against West Potomac, and that was the weird midweek game. Talk about it.
Yeah, a big game. We've been a pretty big fan of his since we started off. When we did our preseason preview, we talked about him. He's obviously an explosive ball player, and in a really big game, in a game that they definitely needed to get into, for a possible playoff.
Right.
Occasions. I mean, and he stepped up big. They didn't come away with the win, but he looked really good.
Yeah, that was a huge game for Westpo.
Yeah,
and for Westpo and for Mount Vernon, huge game.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
Moving. All right, next guy on the list here from the Patriot Conference. I like this, kind of a new addition. Well, speaking of new additions, look at this. Living color, as Coach Mesa says.
Sorry, I was supposed to wait on my quote or when you guys texted me. I didn't know. This is all new to me. You guys are famous
good,
now.
man. You join us for our players of the week. We got the greats. We got the Adam Schefter of Nova, Carl Frederick from PrepRedzone joining us.
What's going on, gentlemen? How's the Sunday treating you?
So far, so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. The drama never ends here, does it?
Never ends. And we were just talking about players of the week, Patriot Conference. Scott Lewis, the new quarterback there, 3 touchdowns this past week. And we'll talk more about it when we get to that game. But I mean, he had 3 touchdowns, and he started off as the 3rd quarterback on the roster early in the year. So that's an impressive story there. It's probably a good story there.
Yeah, no, big win, and also that goes to the point of just keep on practicing, wait your time, and when it comes about, you get a chance to take advantage.
Yeah, it's like the Nova Kurt Warner story, right? I mean, we haven't gotten there. Well, I mean, it's the first game. It's game 1, all right?
Was he boxing shelves at the local? Is that what you're saying?
You don't know. You got to have a part-time job at the grocery store. It'd be fantastic if you did. That actually really would be.
Possibly.
I worked at a grocery store when I was in high school. All right. Liberty District. I like this one. Once again, and they're closing the way they started, man. That Madison defense. So, or I'm sorry, I'm going to skip that. I'm going to go Concord. I said Liberty. I meant Concord. Madison defense. We had an interception from
Graham Gronkowski, right?
Well, he had the pick six, right? You're right.
Yeah.
Gronkowski had the pick six, and then Henry Iron Maiden with an INT.
Yeah, no, Madison's defense is, you guys know this too, it hasn't slowed down all year, and they had an impressive win yesterday. It was a really dominant defensive performance. I actually have Gorkowski as one of my game ball recipients for the PrepRedzone article too. But Henry Maiden's having an outstanding year. You guys know Madison's defense is one of the tops in the state, and they just keep showing that week in, week out.
Oh, it's amazing, man. And you got to love a name like that, man. I mean, send him to the Iron Maiden right there. You know?
Yeah. I knew you were going to drop that as soon as you said that.
That's our era right there. You start talking about Bill and Ted quotes. That's our era. Gotta love it. All right. Liberty District. This was the connection. And I can't wait to talk about this game too. The Langley WNL game earlier. Kind of a two for one special here. Abramson to Malatesta. 4 touchdowns between the two of them. Yeah, I mean, in a giant game against a really talented and a really strong Langley team, in a game they had to have. You won because they're still trying to get that 1 seed. You know, they're right at Madison's heel trying to get that 1 seed, and one slip up, and they could drop from with that one loss could have dropped from like 1 to maybe 5, dropping below Langley. Wow. That would have given Lane a chance to catch them. I mean, big game for them. WNL looks like the real deal. And it's also interesting because we'll get to when we talk about the game. That game right there made it so Madison and WNL have to play next week. They don't have the luxury of sitting their guys, trying to get them healthy for the playoff run. They actually got to go out there and play that game. So I mean, huge game for WNL, and looks like WNL is the real deal. And that it's probably gonna be the other side of the bracket away from Madison. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot, actually. All right. And 4 touchdowns. That's just ridiculous. All right. Cardinal. Nasir Johnson. And maybe the upset of the week, right? For Garfield against Patriot. Yeah, gigantic win for Garfield. Johnson played out of his mind in that game. A lot of those guys did. I mean, to drop 40 on Patriot. I know as we're hearing, McCarter didn't play, but it sounds like the rest of our defense did play, and Patriots got a really good defense, and for them to drop 40 points on Patriot is huge in that game.
Mm-hmm. That is gonna. I mean, we were talking about this via text, guys, and I was chatting with the group chat you had going on when you were recording live Friday night. But Garfield, what Coach Edmonds has done there in his first year to have them. I mean, not only does that win over Patriots solidify their playoff spot, it also could potentially move them up. Just looking at that, I got the rankings, they're not the most updated ones up right now, but Garfield at 7-2 is looking prime for possibly a 5th or 6th seed in this point. And also their game next week with Woodbridge not only will possibly determine, I think will determine the Cardinal District title, but Woodbridge might be in the playoffs too. So the Cardinal District went from maybe not having one team in the playoffs to a very good chance of having 2 in the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, wow, that's wild. I mean, it might be the upset of the year though. The Garfield over, and I've been a big Garfield fan all year. I mean, I went to watch them against Braddock. I know that Carl, you've been big on them, and I don't think we're being disrespectful, but Patriot's a big thing, especially how they did not play well against Battlefield. I mean, because they got thumped pretty well by Battlefield, and I think you're talking about Garfield getting thumped by Battlefield.
Yeah, or was it Gainesville? Yeah. They got
no, it was both. It was both.
It was both.
Yeah. So I mean,
I covered the Gainesville one. Gainesville, that was never close for Garfield. Yeah. So,
but as the season goes on, there's something to be said about they're it looks like now they're not the same team they were when they played Gainesville, and they've had a lot of guys really step up really big in there, and they're pretty excited with them, and we'll talk more about that game as we get there. And you could have also mentioned James Blacker. He had a huge game. Yeah. So it just goes. I mean, a lot of guys could have won that award for that game. Yeah. All right, and Cedar Run, man, and I remember talking about this young man
back in the preseason, kind of breaking the teams down. Preston Mayer, 6'5", plays
He's having
deep,
an awesome year for Unity Reed.
right? DB, wide receiver, kick returner, you name it. He can do everything. He's coach. He's the water guy. He does everything. He plays every position on the field. Versus OP, I mean, he had a ridiculous game.
Yeah.
He's having a great year for Unity Reed. I mean, Unity Reed, like we talked about in the preseason, they're a talented squad that's in a very, as you guys know, top-heavy district with Gainesville, Battlefield, and Patriot, but they're going to scrape away. That's their third win of the year. They're going to finish 3-7, which isn't great, but considering they had, Matthias Canoe transfer, they had the Ison Noakes transfer, they had Marcus Ferguson Jr. transfer, and yet they still are going to finish at least 3-7. It says a lot about their staff, and guys like Preston Maine are stepping up.
Right.
Definitely a tall order, and we'll talk about more. But and again, they're in a region that has just 1,000 teams in there. To try to muddle your way through there to try to have yourself. There may be teams that have 4 wins that get in the playoffs in other districts. In their district,
yeah,
there's just so many teams. It's really tough to make it in.
And I mean, 6'5". I mean, any interest there? Are you hearing anything from the colleges for young Preston Maynard?
I mean, he's the type of kid. I mean, he's come on strong his senior year. He's a senior, correct?
I believe so.
Yeah. So he didn't have a ton of impact going into this year, but still,
right.
He's primed with this strong finish because now with the regular seasons ending up, a lot of Division II schools,
he's a senior.
3 schools are going to be calling for him now too. I mean, he's in a position like a lot of kids, not just locally, but like kind of like in the recruiting aspect that may not have had a ton of attention, but now they're having a great senior year where now this is the time of year Division III, II, and FCS schools are going to come start sending offers. We're like already like the major Power 4 schools have sent offers already to kids, as you know, for every class. But I think his recruiting will pick up to answer your question.
Yeah, 6'5", 205. Man, someone's
a D1 scholarships now are getting harder and harder to get because of the portal, and because now Power 5 teams would rather just pick off the group of 5 kids who are really good. The group of 5 teams would rather pick off what's the FBS or FCS below them, right? They'd rather pick those kids off than go to high school kids. So in order to get Division I scholarships now to high school, it's really difficult because Power 5 teams are not interested unless you are a dude picking you up. They would rather pick up a kid who has 2 years of college experience so they can just plug them in right away as opposed to doing that. So that's what makes the scholarship thing kind of hard nowadays.
What you'll see a lot, and you're kind of seeing it already, is like to go with Coach Mesa's point with the transfer portal, is like not only are like these major schools telling kids, yeah, we want to offer you, but we have to wait till the portal. But what you're going to see a lot of kids doing is, a kid who may commit to like a Monmouth or a Temple at that type of level school. And because I know this because kids have told me that's the route they want to go. They'll play a year at a school like that, put their name in the portal in hopes of getting like a bigger school to offer them, because that's the kind of like how the new philosophy with recruiting works too. So you're going to see a lot more of that.
And actually, we'll talk about it later on, but I'd like to hear your thoughts when we get to the Madison game about Dominic Nicely's because I just saw that. He put that out there on Twitter that
that just happened this week.
Yeah.
And usually that means that they've got something bigger. He's got something bigger in the books. So
the season that he's having, you would think so.
Yeah. Well, you would hope so. I just, unfortunately, I'm starting to see like with the and I'm not saying this is the case with Dominic, but I know with some other kids, like a kid from a local kid where I'm from in Pennsylvania had, a plethora of offers, but he ended up decommitting a couple weeks ago to Arizona State, and turns out the school did not have the NIL money promised him to, or they wanted to use his offer to go after one of the kids in the portal. So I'm not saying that could have happened with Dominic, but unfortunately we're starting to see that too. So
in the post NIL world, transfer portal is a different world than there was.
Yeah.
The wild, wild west, gentlemen. It really is.
It is a different world, and unfortunately, and I don't mean to take up, I know we got some stuff to get to, but unfortunately, a lot of parents. I mean, the parents were ignorant to the way it worked before. They are very ignorant to the way it is now, which is unfortunate. And
yeah,
and I think a lot of the high school coaches get a lot of backlash, about their kids not getting the love. They don't understand, like, there's a lot of money tied up in this now, on top of, money. All the money is what's really going after this, and the transfer portal has just changed, because kids are hitting the portal during the season.
Yeah.
You have kids who are hitting the portal during the season. So I mean,
Well, yeah, look at the UNLV stuff. That was just that was crazy the way that went.
No, that was nuts. That's going to keep happening too.
Right.
That's just the tipping of the iceberg, in my opinion.
I think
this is going to be great off-season talk, right? It's going to be fun.
Yeah. I know, Carl. We'd love to have some of your PrepRedzone guys also who have a lot of recruiting experience, stuff like that.
Yeah.
We can have a full roundtable, just kind of talking about what it is now, what high school recruiting looks like now, and and then maybe even things that we could spitball, things we think would help with all this stuff out. But yeah, definitely an off-season topic that we can,
Yeah, we make me and the other guy from Virginia that worked. I talk with him daily. I could have him and the regional director on like for a roundtable. That'd be a lot of fun. You guys get my invite about the showcase, by the way? Never responded.
We did.
Yeah.
I told Mesa to respond. He's a jerk.
Well, one of us teaches an academic course. This is the end of the quarter where we have to like do a lot of grading, do a lot of stuff like that. The other one of us does not have to do that and just
Who's that? Which one is that?
That is good stuff.
You jerk. All right. Highlight of the week. We're gonna be hearing this name a lot in today's show. Once again, Jonathan Malatesta. Mesa, talk about it.
Yeah, so it was an interception, I believe, to ice the game. A very OBJ, outstretched over the top. It was an interception. It wasn't like he was a receiver doing that. I mean, he was Malatesting his range, going up top, getting that for him. I mean, it was pretty impressive, that pick. Now, I do think it was very similar to the Garfield one we had with James.
I was just going to ask you that. Was it as good as that
similar,
one?
But he did not run for a touchdown. But for him to outstretch like that, I mean,
yeah, he went up.
You figure, the quarterback could be like, my guy's open, and for a guy just to reach up one-handed behind his back and pick it off, it's pretty impressive. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that probably sealed the game for WNL.
Yeah,
I was going to say because Langley battled. They picked off Aberson a couple times too, didn't they?
Yeah, that was a good game. It was a good game.
Yeah, I didn't go to that one. As you guys know, I went to the Lake Braddock one, but I'm proud to say my blowout jinx is over.
It is over. It is over.
Well, let's get to it. That's a great players of the week, great highlight of the week. Now we're going to move on to our Fab Five games of the week, and we'll get to WNL in a minute. We got Carl here, so I want to talk about it. Lake Braddock SoCo. We've been saying it, right? The kryptonite of Braddock was green. Talk about it. What'd you think?
It was a defensive onslaught on both sides. I saw a lot of good things out of a lot of familiar suspects for both defenses. Like Trent Payne, guys, is one of the most dominant defensive linemen I've seen in person. But he like I said, his height is right around mine. He might be an inch taller than me. That is what it is. He was impressive. Brownie Callahan was really impressive. Marcus Gilmore was really impressive. Lake Braddock's defense is, really, really turning the corner. South County battled defensively too. Hunter Maliki was great. Imani Matthews made a lot of plays. Aaron Bangora was active. But really what the difference was is that while South County really couldn't get anything going most of the game, Lake Braddock found some openings in the second half with both Peyton Holmes, the Patriot transfer, and Brownie Callahan running the ball too. That was what made the difference. They couldn't get much passing game going. I wonder, like I texted you guys, if Tyrone Jackson is coming back healthy, because Michael Suris, while he had some nice moments, he really struggled yesterday. Again, South County, as you guys know, has an exceptional defense. Right. They're starting to get a little bit healthier as the season goes on. But, Lake Braddock has, a guy in Kai Austin who's got a full ride to William & Mary. He was one of the top receivers in the country last year. He only touched the ball, I think, twice yesterday. So they got to figure that out. He's too good to, not get more opportunities. There's a lot of things Lake Braddock has to clean up offensively, but nonetheless, I was impressed with how their defense really came to play. South County has Tyler Orth back at receiver. He's really good. Travion Campbell's been outstanding for them. And South
Torres
County
played last game. I heard that he was injured in the game before. He played yesterday.
Yeah. Yes, he did.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they're still banged up. South County seems to have their quarterback situation a little bit better. Like the last couple of games, they've had the other junior, what's his name? Sismay, I believe his last name is Nicholas Sismay. I apologize because I just had a good talk with his dad yesterday too, if I pronounced that wrong. But he's a very mobile quarterback. They couldn't get a ton going. They couldn't get the ball outside to Campbell. Lake Braddock had a good game plan for him, and they had a good game plan against Orth. Orth did play. I did see him. He definitely looked frustrated. So maybe he was, still a little bit banged up. That would make sense. But overall, Lake Braddock's defense is ready to go. Trent Payne, that guy wins games, dude. That dude wins games on the line of scrimmage. Like I've interviewed him after games. Like I love watching him play because how he navigates and picks out screen passes, or he just controls the line of scrimmage. He's a fun player to watch.
Yeah, we talked to Coach Crush briefly after the game, and kind of gave us some stats here. 7 sacks in the last 2 weeks, right? I mean, that's for Payne. Talk about bringing the pain.
What did he say he had yesterday? I counted 4 yesterday.
Yeah, you got it. You good
okay,
eyes. You
cool.
got eagle eyes, sir. Eagle eyes. 4 sacks for Payne tonight. I guess he had 3 last week. So 7 in the last 2 weeks. 16 on the season. The guy's going to break Mark Gastineau's all-time NFL record the way he's
I know, but he doesn't have Gastineau's Dookie dance. So, that's a good thing for Payne,
Because I don't count Strahan in that. I don't count Strahan in that.
No, we don't even count Strahan. That's funny. Well, no.
Couple of things he said. So they got they said Brown got one tonight. They said as a team they have 13 sacks in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Their defense is really coming along. It's much better than it was earlier in the year. I'd still like to see more out of their offense. I hope Jackson is back healthy. They got to get guys like Kai Austin the football more. Like the dude just makes plays, and I think he had 2 catches for like 17 yards yesterday. Now I know he's been a little bit banged up.
Yeah,
a lot of his senior year, so maybe they're just saving them. I mean, still, and they won that game 22-14, and they had a lot more opportunities. I mean, Lake Braddock should have won by a couple of scores, but you got to give credit to South County's defense. They had a fumble at the goal line. They went 99 yards the other way. The score tied up. They made a few other plays. Like Malik, he was very active. But Lake Braddock, there's reasons that is that their second in a row regular season title?
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Impressive.
They're if they get their offense going, I'll stand by my preseason prediction of their state title contender.
I mean, it happened last year, right? It happened last year. The defense kind of carried them at the end of the season, and the offense got hot at the right time too. And then they were both, and that's what they're kind of hoping for now. And then I hear names that I haven't heard before, right? Like Dirty Harry Callahan, like that guy.
That kid had a block punt in the first half that set up their first touchdown, and then in the second half, they kind of balanced out their offense because Peyton Holmes, he had over 130 rushing yards on the game. He made a difference, but they went back to Callahan. It's like Holmes was kind of the flash, and Callahan was kind of their grinder, and he rushed in for a couple of touchdowns. He was a spry big man. He had quite the outing. He's going to get one of my game balls in my articles I have coming out later today.
Well, then the runaway wine truck Bordeaux, he should be coming back, I think, soon, the next week or two. So that'll help.
Is he hurt? Okay, because I didn't see him.
He was a little banged up. I think him coming back in the next week or two.
Yeah, he's a good player. He's played well for them for a couple of years. We'll see. I mean, Lake Braddock, I'm happy for them. They really seem to have it going defensively. If they get their offense going, like you said, Coach, just like last year around this time, then they're going to be a tough out.
Yeah, for sure. But it looked like a fun. I was following along on your tweets, and it looked like a fun game to go to. All right,
you guys could have helped me and get through my sorrows of that Penn State loss. That's why I went there yesterday.
Yeah, it's tough. And you know how it is in Nova, right? There's a Penn State cult here in Nova. So everywhere I went, people were talking about it.
There
Everywhere
were
I
people
went,
talking about the South County game, like venting
Yeah.
about Penn State losing. I loved it.
got a lot of loyal Penn State alum and fans
I was in
everywhere.
my misery together with all the
That's
South County
right.
fans.
That's right. All right. So next game up, which we had called the game of the week going into it, we had W&L and Langley. Man, and it was a good game. Lived up to the billing for the most part, for at least 3 quarters.
Yeah, it was pretty close. I mean, you had two of the two top teams essentially at this point, right? Playing. It was the game was for the district championship for the most part. I mean, I think you can call that what it was, right? I mean, and also playoff seeding. But W&L was able to kind of grind it through, which is something that they're going to need to do, especially when they're in the same bracket as a Madison team in there, right? You have, I think they're probably the biggest high flying team you have in that region over there. Most of their teams are pretty much ground and pound defense, grind it out. They're the one kind of I'm not going to say anomaly, but where they are a little more explosive on offense, with the pass. So yeah, it was a great game.
But the defense is what is not being spoken because of the I always joke and say the Mike Marks, Ludwig offense, but we don't talk about the defense. And their defense, man, to shut I mean, they were up 21-7 at one point. Didn't hear the Rock's name very often, and the Rock is a tough guy to tackle.
Yeah.
Now our guy Abramson had some big runs. He had a couple big runs in that game to kind of keep the sticks moving for Langley. They were down 21-7 pretty early in that game. Langley fought back, made it 21-14. But again, they couldn't stop like we mentioned earlier, they couldn't stop the Abramson combination. 4 touchdowns.
Yeah. Malatesta had himself an Al Bundy, huh?
He did have an Al Bundy.
Yeah, an Al Bundy. Yeah. I mean, they're a really good team. I think that region's going to be pretty exciting. I think it's going to be a lot of close games. I mean, just looking at that region in particular, right? I mean, I can't see a matchup here like, oh, that matchup's going to be kind of close, or that matchup's going to be not very good. I think for the most part it's going to be pretty good.
Yeah, didn't you guys talk about it on your Twitter last night? How Yorktown is doing what they do and getting hot again, like with their impressive win too. That's another team you could throw in there. Now I watched them a couple weeks ago when they took on at Langley, and they couldn't stop a nosebleed against Langley's offense. But I could see what you're saying. Pretty impressive win for Yorktown yesterday too. So that's another tough out in that region.
Yeah, nobody wants to play Yorktown. I look at Yorktown a year ago we've been joking all year long, calling them kind of the, Ric Flair in the Battle Royal, right? Like Yorktown's going to hide in the corner. They're going to go under the ring. They're going to just be lingering. And the minute you have your back to them, they're going to hit you with a steel chair and you're done. All right. They're going to throw you over the top. They did it last year to South Lakes. And that's as a 7 seed. And then in the next round, they almost upset. Did they play Madison or Westfield? They played Madison. I think it was Madison, but if whoever it was, they played in the next round. They almost upset them in the next round.
No, it wasn't. Herndon played Madison in the next round.
It was Westfield, and they almost upset Westfield in the next round. So, they came a hair from upsetting 2 teams in a row in the playoffs last year.
But I think W&L in that game's kind of established that they are the other preeminent team. I mean, there's Madison's undeniable. But W&L, everyone was kind of unsure, right, if they were going to come back down to earth, and they have yet to come back down to earth. And so, it was a big win for them.
And we'll get to it, as we go later in the off season, because that's what the off season's for, is talk about some of this stuff. But, again, talking about Ludwig, the mad scientist, you wonder, will he stick around? Will he want to entertain some of the head coach offers in the off season? We'll talk about that. But when you're running a juggernaut offense, year in, year out, new quarterback in, new quarterback out, I mean, and they're still just a top tier offense. That's impressive stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Next game up. Now I know Mesa, you were able to catch some of this game. Was it the Centreville game, right?
No, I watched Robinson and AC.
That's what I meant. I got the Centreville game here. Robinson game. I was looking at that the entire time. The Robinson AC game.
So Robinson right now probably did not get a lot of sleep last night. Robinson comes out first drive. Phone the ball, scoop and score AC up 7-0. Robinson then gets a drive down, kicks a field goal. They then get another touchdown. They're able to get another touchdown. They take a 10-7 lead. They then AC is like a 3rd and 15, and they run what looks like a kind of a flood concept. They have like a little sail route. I think it was a sail. It might have been an out. But anyway, you have a guy coming in. You got a vertical route. The guy coming underneath. He catches the ball. He's short of the first down. Gets hit. The fumble falls into an AC guy's hands who's standing there. He then runs it all the way down to about the 5-yard line, and AC scores again. So AC essentially got 2 touchdowns off of fluky kind of plays. The other one in particular, right? The guy gets hit so hard he coughs with the football just right into an AC guy who's standing there's lap, and so they end up getting another touchdown. AC gets another score. Robinson then they go for on a couple 4th downs, but they're never able to kind of get themselves back in the game. So yeah, I'm sure right now they have got to be just beside themselves because this looks like it may have cost them a playoff berth.
Wow.
And to lose the game that way. On the flip side, I mean, AC lost. What was it, 17 games in a row? Was it 17? Were they on a 17?
No, it was the 10 in a row. Well, I guess it would have been 11 because they lost in the playoffs year before, so that would be 11. And then they lost the first 5 games. It was like 15 or 16.
15, 16 games in a row, and now they have lined themselves up for a possible play. I mean, they need some things to break right for them, but they are right back in it. So credit to those guys. I mean, to working hard through there. But
yeah,
it has got to be heartbreaking if you're a Robinson coach right now to have those 2 plays happen. Yeah,
and Mesa, to your point there, AC, that coaching staff, to weather the storm of an 0-10 season, like you said. And we talk about all year long, we've talked about Coach Slay and the turnaround. We've talked about the Herndon coaches over that turnaround over the last few years. And, South Lakes and the turnaround they had a year ago. And a few other teams, obviously. But AC's right up there now. I mean, that's a huge turnaround. And some big wins they've had. They beat West Springfield 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. And also AC lost a few guys into kids who transferred out. I mean, can you imagine if some of those guys who I believe ended up at Woodbridge would have stuck around at AC? I mean, who knows? And have you heard anything about the running back Duarte at all? Carl, have you heard anything? I mean, preseason wise, when you talk to them, have you?
No, yeah, he played at. You say the running back for Alexandria City?
Yeah.
Yeah, he played for Manassas Park last year, a year ago, and he transferred in there. He's a dynamic playmaker, and it just goes to like what you're saying, Coach, of like how they've really revamped their future at Alexandria City. They're going to finish. That's their 3rd win on the year, so they can finish at 3-7. They went 0-10 last year. You said?
Yeah, 0-10 last year. Yeah,
that's quite the turnaround, and they have kids like Duarte, who's a junior, I believe, coming back into the fold. So it's a nice sophomore.
I think he's a sophomore, believe it or not.
That's right. He played as a freshman for Manassas Park for Coach Teague a year ago.
Wow.
And did really good things and must have transferred in over the offseason. But going back to another thing with the Alexandria City losing some transfers to Woodbridge, Sam Massaquoi, who is a playmaker. I've written about him. You guys have written about him too. He was making plays for AC last year, and he's made a difference for Woodbridge. He's one of the key cogs, the reason that Woodbridge's playoff chances are, looking really, really bright.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, Mason, because I know you're looking at the numbers, talking about Robinson, and I guess next week's show, we can kind of dedicate to the playoffs and all that stuff. But what are we looking at Robinson? They're not out of it, though, right?
Yeah, so they're not. So according to and anybody who wants to get the playoff picture, if you go to hayfieldfootball.com, the person who runs that, who I don't, and if that person listens, because that person is one of our people, probably part of our part of our demographic that listens to it. We'd love to hear how you figure all this stuff out. But according to
we'd have that man on. He could do it we could black him out because he's like a mystery guy. We could do like the blackout screen, and we could do like the robotic voice when he talks. We just want to have you on the show because you're just talk about mad geniuses. He's a genius.
So according to this thing is, if they win, 2 of these 4 teams have to lose. West Potomac, Edison, Mount Vernon, and AC. They have to lose. I think
for Robo to get in,
or them to get in. If they lose, they have to be able to beat AC in points and both Edison and Mount Vernon in points.
Well, let's start here. Who's Robinson playing? Let's start there.
They're playing Braddock. Now, the interesting for Braddock is, and I don't know how far you want to get into this. Braddock has nothing to play for. The 2 seed is done. They're
Right.
locked into the 2 seed as it stands right now. I know people out there are gonna be like, "Well, we heard." We're just gonna talk about what we know right now,
Right.
and what we know right now is that Braddock is locked into the 2 seed. They have
Hmm.
0 to play for. So it's one of those things where
Yeah, it could be one of the. You're right. You rest some guys up and right.
Get some guys healthy. I mean, now
Yeah.
I'm looking at. I'm glad you guys told me about this Hayfield site, because before that, I was texting you guys last night. The VHSL, they might as well have YouTube running it, because they don't update anything. This guy for the Cardinal News, he updates it like on Tuesdays after the games are played. So I'm like sitting here. This is much more helpful. It looks like, yeah. So who does AC play next week? Did you say that already?
I do not. AC plays. Come on, Carl. You're getting. I don't do that until Tuesday afternoon. AC plays. Give me a second here. Let me get my spreadsheet here.
No, I'm curious.
No, just go to Max Preps. That's what I'm doing.
AC plays Alexandria City. National. They play Fairfax. Fairfax does have something to play for.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
And
Fairfax is not going to sit their guys.
And honestly, if Fairfax coming off a tough loss, which we'll get into actually right this second here in a minute, but Fairfax coming off a tough loss, regardless, knowing that staff, that's a good coaching staff, they're going to want to get off the schneid before going into the playoffs, anyways.
Wow. So Oakton has the 8th spot currently in Region D.
Well, we talked about all that Chantilly Oakton game. That's a playoff.
Yeah, you did.
It's that game is going to be gigantic.
Yeah, it is.
Is that at Chantilly? I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead.
No. It's a good question. Where is that? Because that could be
I'll tell you right now.
Carl's game of the week right there.
It is at Oakton.
It's at Oakton.
That's awesome. Okay, good to know.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and go on to the next one here. We'll keep this conversation going, because I'm sure all these teams are going to pop up within the conversation, anyways. And I'd mentioned it a second ago, Coach Mesa, South Lake Centreville. So that was almost. I've been saying it. I'm kind of riding high with the Wildcats right now. That's one of the hottest teams in Nova. They've kind of come around, and then right at the right time. Now we'll see if it's too little too late. Looking at those standings in a second, but South Lake was up 14-0 in that game, and then boom, the hottest team in Nova turns it on. They go on a 33-0 run at that point, and they were up 33-14. And then, South Lake scored one late and made it 21. But 33-0 run like that, as soon as it clicked for Centreville. They have the firepower, and they play Madison next week, if I'm not mistaken.
That West Potomac loss for Centreville is looming large over them right now. That's looming large for them right now. Losing that game is really kind of hurting them right now.
It hadn't clicked yet, buddy. It hadn't clicked.
But you could say that fourth quarter, all of a sudden, that's where it clicked. That's where they started rolling again.
Yeah.
But it was, football's a sport where a loss early really hurts you. You're not playing even in high school baseball or basketball. You play a 20-game schedule. A loss here, a loss there, early on. I mean, it happens. In football, especially that not everybody makes the playoffs. If this was an everyone makes a playoff kind of thing, can you imagine the teams that might be real dangerous in there that are lower seeds? Centreville, AC, West Potomac, right? These are all teams that did not do well. And if it was an everybody makes a playoffs system like the other sports, there would be some really dangerous low seeds.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. You're 100% right. So we'll see. I mean, and if Centreville ends up what needs to happen? Let me ask you this, because you had Chantilly up and you have the Hayfield thing up, and this kind of feeds into the Chantilly story. So is there any way between Chantilly and Oakton playing that game, can Centreville get in, or are they already in? Or is it
Centreville has to win? With a loss, they're done.
Right. If they beat Madison,
they have to win big, according to this guy's site too.
They've got to beat them, and then so
that would be a lot of points if they beat Madison.
If they beat Madison, it's going to be a ton of points. If they beat Madison, that's going to be 35 points they'll get out of that right there, which will move their total up to 261.
I'm reading this guy's site. I thought it said win and by points, but regardless, a win over
Yeah,
Madison.
so win with the PowerPoints, and then
Right.
yeah. So,
But Madison at the same time, like you said earlier, Madison's not resting. Them and
They can't.
WNL, they're neck and neck, right?
Yeah, they're
Right.
WNL is right
Yeah.
at their heels right now.
Right.
They're currently tied in points.
Wow.
So I mean, there is a strange world out there where they both win, but depending on the wins and losses of these other teams that they're playing, and here's another crazy thing, is that Stonebridge is actually less points because they're a 5A school.
Yeah.
That's why they have less points. Had they beat a 6A school, they'd actually be ahead of them. And I know we're not in the playoff show, and I'm sure we'll get the playoff show on Tuesday. But yeah, I mean,
which shows you another reason why. I know you've kind of, again, another off-season topic is talking about these PowerPoints. It's flawed.
yeah.
Because obviously Battlefield, I said Battlefield. You said Stonebridge. Anyone coming into this year, I know Stonebridge has had its struggles, but coming into this year when Madison agreed to play them, they weren't playing a cupcake.
Right.
No, that's not what their mindset. You're right.
Right. They were, and Stonebridge is still a good team. Despite the record, they're still a tough team, and they would beat a lot of 6A schools. But Madison played a tough team there, and meanwhile, like you said, they don't get rewarded for that. They get hurt for that.
Yeah, they go and play Stonebridge, and no disrespect to the schools, but WNL had Lewis,
right?
And they're getting more points for playing Lewis than Madison's getting for playing Stonebridge.
Right, flaw. And we'll talk about these flaws. We'll talk about
and no disrespect to Lewis, but I would take Stonebridge over Lewis by a lot. I mean, I don't think I'm saying anything that's out of pocket.
Yeah, no. I think everybody would agree with that. Yeah, Stonebridge is a better team than a lot. Like I said, a lot of 6A schools. Not just you could probably make a list.
Not just Lewis, but
right. A lot of teams. Wow. Well, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun this week. Kind of look, because even when we get off, we're all going to study that puzzle and look at that. Hey, we're going to discover things over this whole week. That if this team beats this team, oh crap, this could be an important game. There's going to be a lot of random important games now.
Yeah. Because other teams are going to need you to win. We beat you. We need you to also win, so we get the extra point on top of that, right?
Yeah, that happened in the Cardinal district. I remember last year because as you guys know, I was writing for Inside Nova last year, so I was covering their games, and there was Potomac Senior, Garfield, and Colgan, who all were battling for the 7th and 8th seed. I think there was another, Forest Park was the other one. And they all had to depend, obviously, wins, but also a certain amount of points. And how it worked out was, in terms of the wins. Obviously, Garfield lost to Woodbridge, but even so, Potomac Senior had lost to Colgan, but they had more points, so they got the 8th seed over both of them.
Right.
So that's what it sounds like. A lot of schools, these other regions, are going through this year too. I mean, I'm looking at this guy's scenarios. There's a lot of different things that can happen. But Oakton getting in the playoffs. And in year one under Coach Slay is, Coach of the Year type of honors.
For sure. I agree with you there. Yeah. All right. And probably the last of the very kind of competitive, good games of the week, aside from the upset of the week, which we'll talk about. I'll let Mesa talk about that one in a while. And you too, Carl, because you guys have been on the Prince William kind of bandwagon all year. But Fairfax, West Springfield, that was a crazy game. Now, Fairfax is up 2 scores early in that game, okay? Davies runs it in, kind of makes it an 8-point game. It was an 8-point game for a while. We talked about him earlier, player of the week, Scott Lewis, the new quarterback. He runs it in, okay? Then you got all of a sudden you got a kind of a tie game. Fairfax up again in the third quarter, okay? Lewis hits Austin for a touchdown, okay? Ties it up. Fairfax still up late in the third. And then we got Murad. This is probably the turning point of the game right here. Okay, Fairfax is up. I think they were up 1. Murad throws in a 70-yard pick 6.
No.
West Springfield. That was to Gavin Price. Got to mention his name. Coach Barker told me it was Gavin Price. I wanted to give that kid some love on the show. That's huge play. Huge play. At that point, West Springfield is up 6 points in the fourth.
Okay.
And then Lewis to Heredia for a touchdown. And that's a ball game at that point. And so Lewis won. Looking at some of the stats, Fairfax that I think Fairfax had a ton of rushing yards, almost 300 yards rushing. That's what they do, right?
Yeah.
But it's only 70 yards passing and 2 interceptions. That hurts. That hurts a lot.
Well, I
Seemed
think you and I have been pretty high on the West Springfield defense. We saw them against Hayfield. I thought they played really well defensively. They've had earlier string of struggles. Another one though, right? That loss to AC is really biting them in the behind right now. I mean, where seeding's going. I mean that loss to AC. Now AC's an improved program, but if you're coming off the year that West Springfield had with some of the talent that they had, I mean that's really weighing down on them, right?
Yeah. So I mean, maybe if Lewis 3 touchdowns, like I said, he ran one in. They like his mobility. Ran one in, threw 2. And I mean, again, that's a huge win for West Springfield. This is kind of the joke we mentioned earlier. And actually on the live last week, Coach Wesley made a comment and he kind of laughed. And we were saying that, Fairfax has to be wishing for bad weather right now because they're just built like such a tough mutter.
Yeah.
And, well, that was not the case this past week. It was not bad weather. It was gorgeous weather. And so these teams can throw the ball a little bit better than they would if it was traditional, like Guns N' Roses once said, November rain. Gotta love the November rain.
But Fairfax is built for the playoffs, and they'll last year I think nobody thought did I'm trying to remember, did Fairfax knock off West Springfield?
They knocked off South County last year.
Yeah, it was South County.
Yeah, but they got to the regional finals. They played in the semis.
It might have been West Springfield. I'd have to check that. I know they were, like you said, Coach. They were humming right as the playoff. That's why.
I mean, it would have been either them or Braddock, right? One of those two beat West Springfield in the playoffs.
I think it was Fairfax. Now, he said that they did win a couple of playoff games. They're always a tough out. You guys know they're one of the best coached teams in the region, and it sounds like they had many opportunities to win this game yesterday, kind of like the Oakton loss earlier this year, or the Lake Braddock loss too, where Fairfax tends to shoot themselves in the foot. No pun intended, with turnovers, and it seemed like Murad had been really coming along. He actually
it did
last week too. So I mean, I still have faith in him. I know he had up until yesterday had been playing really well, coming along for that offense. I think the Lions will be a tough out in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Oh, I think so too. And you're right. Murad was playing. He was rocking and rolling coming into this game. He really was. I know when they were up 2 scores in that game, a guy that we all love this year, our man Moman, who's seized the moment this year and has become the leading rusher.
Scott, for your movie, you're a movie czar. I know you have a better quote than that.
He's been a stud though, and
He is a stud.
He was a little banged up and he left the game. He didn't come back.
Okay.
And that probably did not help Fairfax, obviously, in that game.
Did Lynch play? Is he?
Believe Lynch played.
Yeah. He was part of the rushing attack. He was in the mix
because they had 300 yards as a team, almost 300 yards.
Yeah, Maltese had a good game, didn't he? I know they lost, but he's having a great year for them.
A Maltese Falcon.
That's a better pool.
There you go. Mesa loves his Bogart movies. There we go. And speaking of tough ground attacks, the Raiders go 70 yards with a Zamir Zeus White touchdown against the Bengals. So there's that right there. All right.
The Giants are driving on the Commanders too. In case anyways.
Oof. All right. So Fairfax, West Springfield, great game. And like you said, I think West Springfield, I talked about Centreville being scorching hot right now. West Springfield is scorching hot right now.
Going to the playoffs. Yeah, they're playing a good brand of football right now.
Yeah, and you guys know they changed up their quarterback from Walrath is. I mean, he's been a great teammate, great kid. Love the Walraths. He's no longer a starter there, and then like you said, Lewis is taking the reins, and they've kind of gotten back on track a little bit offensively. I mean, they had the setback a week ago against Lake Braddock, but Lake Braddock's defense is doing that to everybody. It seems like. But West Springfield, they seem to have it going. They also have a kid. They don't forget about Mark Anthony White, their running back. He's an outstanding player, but they have a kid named Anthony Bello, their tight end. He had a couple of tight yesterday. Yeah, he just transitioned to the tight end position. He was another backup quarterback too. He's a guy. He's going to be a tough matchup for a lot of defenses come playoff time.
Yeah, it's nice to have that problem. You got all these quarterbacks, right? A lot of teams would kill for that problem,
Absolutely.
right? And Coach Mesa and I were talking off camera before we came on about that game. And Walrath, I mean, a great arm. Now maybe they like the mobility that Lewis brings, but it just in terms of arm talent, Walrath is a spectacular quarterback.
No, he is. I mean, he was one of our top ranked quarterbacks for the whole 2026 class. I still think whether it's at West Springfield or ever, he's going to be a Division I quarterback. I really believe that too. It just, like you said, it didn't work out with Coach Parker's system. He wanted somebody more mobile, and that doesn't necessarily fit his game. But we'll see.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, teams always need a quarterback. Always need a quarterback.
I mean, he would look good on a lot of Cardinal District teams out here. I'm not saying. I mean, a lot of situations where he would look.
We are not advocating for kids leaving the school.
I know. Like, I don't want to get anybody in trouble. I'm just saying.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Expressed by Carl Frederick are not those of no little podcast or.
Just put it out. Yeah, I didn't say nothing. I didn't say anything. Just dump that whole segment.
That is hilarious. That is hilarious. All right. And before we get to the best of the rest, which everyone loves the best of the rest, I quickly wanted to let you guys talk about what might have been the upset of the year, right? The Patriot and Garfield. Garfield in the big win.
Yeah. Have you got a chance to watch that at all, Carl? I mean, I watched some of it. Man, Garfield's explosive. Like we talked about earlier when we were talking about the players of the week. Our understanding is that Jackson McCarter did not play. Their defense did, and their defense is really good. And to drop 40 on them is gigantic for them.
You said that when I first came on earlier, Coach Mesa, and I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I mean, McCarter did not play in that game, which, that situation's going to, I mean, whatever happens with that, I mean, who knows, but that could be impacting Patriot going forward. But that whole defense played. I think all their starters played. Tyler Knutson, their quarterback, who is getting a lot of Division I notice, and he's having an outstanding year, 23 touchdowns, I think 0 interceptions. He played. Dyson Noakes, their good receiver, played. So, yeah, they didn't have McCarter, but still, that's a Patriot team that, had really been rolling to that point, and a lot of people might have thought they were going to give Battlefield a run for their money next week. I don't know about that right now.
Someone on here had them as their number 1 team in the area. Somebody on here, it wasn't me, but somebody else on here.
That was Dasty. He's throwing you under the bus. He's getting you back for earlier.
I don't have any of my props. I love a good prop comic. I don't have any of my props out here. If I had my Groucho glasses, I'd put those on right now.
But Garfield is just getting better and better. It seems like, because like you touched on earlier, I was at the Gainesfield game. That was never competitive. They didn't look like they were ready to compete. That's why I thought like around the 500 finish would sound about right for them. But since then, they've improved. I mean, they get after it defensively, and Troy Hamlin is playing excellent football. It's his first year as a full-time starter. He took over about a little over 3/4 of the way last year as a sophomore, but he's really coming along as a passer.
Yeah. No, they're really talented. I mean, it's just it's impressive all the way around.
It's an impressive young team, and on Patriot, yes, I'm the ultimate, Patriot guy all season long, or at least most of the season. They've been my number 1. If Jackson McCarter doesn't come back, I think they're in trouble. Knutson can do it. He's got the talent to do it. But at the same time, it's more than that, right? It's not about Knutson's talent, because he's a stud. Their offense is built a certain way, and it's run a certain way, right? And now you got to change everything. He's the straw that stirs the drink over there. So if he's not healthy or can't make it back the rest of the way, then we're looking at they might struggle. And like you said, Mesa, they might be a 7 or 8 seed.
Yeah. Yeah, and you lose a player like that, and Patriot is talented, so don't get me, don't mince my words. Patriot's a talented football team, but you take away a kid like that, and when you're those DCs now, that kid's gone. I don't have to load the box now as much. I can play too high. I can play too high safeties now because I don't have to bring that other safety down. Right. I don't count for that kid anymore. Now I'm sure the running back they have is probably good. The Patriots are a fantastic program. But you take that kid away, and now you're like, okay, well, let me see if these other guys can beat me.
Right.
The old Bill Belichick, right? Take away the thing they like the best, and then adjust from there.
Right.
So I'm sure a lot of teams were like, you know what, I'm going to take away Jack. I'm going to. Oh, I mean, no one took him away, but you're going to be like, we got to slow that guy down. And now he's gone. Now you don't have to slow that guy down anymore because he's not there. So I think the looks that Knutson saw earlier in the season are not the looks he's going to get now because the kid who everybody was afraid of, is no longer there. Now you're the kid they're trying to stop. Now they're game planning to stop the pass game with Knutson and with the receiver.
Right.
Yeah.
And I bet they wish they had Peyton Holmes now. I mean, I know that situation like he happened in the offseason where Peyton transferred, but he played a lot for them as a sophomore. He was McCarter's backup there, and he looks like he's going to have an impact for Lake Braddock. I mean, he had, like I told you, he had 130 yards on the ground yesterday. He really made a difference. I think he needs more carries for Lake Braddock. Patriot could certainly use him now. They still have a good O-line, but you're exactly right. Teams are going to be game planning for somebody else now and to shut down Patriot. And Garfield obviously, got the job done. And now Battlefield with that defense is going to be locked in on nuts, and that's going to be a tough matchup.
And our guy Coach McClure, one of our early listeners. Coach McClure was one of our early listeners out there at Garfield. See what happens when you align yourself with the All Hitches podcast. Good things happen. You get
good things happen. Other sites steal your stuff too. Like
That's awesome.
There are sometimes some things I hear. See that there are some things I've read on other sites where I'm like, that's exactly what I said.
Right.
Like word for word, there are things that go out
they
there.
They better start quote tweet you guys or something.
Right. No kidding. Right. That's the one thing with the the one reporter that I'm not going to go ahead and. But it's like it was the actual word, the word recommendations.
You guys literally said the same thing the night before on your live show.
Wow. And I'm sure I'll run into him at some game, and maybe we'll talk about it. We'll joke about it. We'll have a Dash and Dan sandwich about it, and just put it all.
Yeah. That guy doesn't have a sandwich named after him. You guys should have the play.
Water under the bridge. All right. Well, look, that was the Fab Five, and man, there were some good games there. And like I said, all week we're going to spend time looking at some of these games and some of these matches, trying to figure out who's in, who's out, who needs to win, who needs to lose, all that kind of stuff. So it'll be fun kind of looking at that. But now we get into the best of the rest. The best of the rest. Doesn't mean they were bad. Just means they were the best of the rest. All right.
Yes, it does.
Leading it off. Edison and Falls Church. Edison, maybe a little 8 seed, Mesa? What do you think?
Yeah. Edison's definitely in the and that and Falls Church was right there, nick at the heels. Falls Church wins that game, and now they are, that they're playing for something next week. That it was essentially they had a 2-week playoff to try to work their way in. They need some other things to happen. They didn't, but Edison is pull it off, and this gives them a chance to be back to back. This sets them up to possibly being a back to back playoff team.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Do they already does Edison have a playoff spot clinched? I couldn't tell what
they do not. Edison, no, they do not. They
it's a mess for that 8 seed.
Does Edison have a shot at the 7th seed too if they win?
If Edison wins, they're in.
Gotcha. Good for them.
Well, then what I'm going to ask next. Then, who are they playing?
Edison plays Mount Vernon.
It's a good game.
And Mount Vernon's already in, aren't they? They're
Mount Vernon needs to win, and then they need some help.
Wow.
So because Edison can still get in with a loss, but if they win, they're in.
Man, the games of the week are just a plethora.
I mean, games of the week probably will be more next. Usually we do the matchups of whoever. Games of the week are going to be teams that need the win. I mean,
playoff games. There's a bunch of week 11 playoff games. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, staying in the national, and I'm going to ask you if these guys are still around. Annandale with a huge win over Lewis, 42-7. Is Annandale still in some kind of weird maybe?
Annandale's not.
They're not. Well, they scored a lot of points in that game.
But good for them, right? I mean, we're seeing some Annandale footballs, improving some. So good for them.
No, they have, and they've played. I was going to say the Adams have gotten better as the season's going on. They got some nice players offensively, and that doesn't look like it's going to end in a playoff run. But kudos to that staff because they had the rough start to the year, but they've gotten together and had a nice couple of wins.
So I got one for you. Moving on, Marshall and Yorktown. This was billed as one of the top games. Yorktown was in control from beginning to end. I mean, they did a good job shutting down the run. Marshall scored a couple late in the game, but I mean, at one point we looked at it. We were watching it at our game, and we thought maybe they'd shut them out. I mean, they did a good job defensively in that game.
Yeah, and Marshall's having some issues now at the end of the season, which is interesting because last year that was not the case. Last year they were on a hot streak. This year it seems like they're struggling a little bit.
It seems like with Marshall, if you figured I noticed it. So 2 weeks ago they scored first against Herndon, and then Herndon's defense, Coach Richards, adjusted, and their D line for Herndon was winning every snap. It seems like if you win up front with that run only offense, you can shut them down because their passing game is lacking. You guys know it too. That's what I mean. Herndon gave up one drive, the opening drive to the Statesmen, and then shut them down. I don't think the Statesmen got inside the 20 the rest of the game.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And, I mean, they've just been kind of struggling. I mean, the kind of the pinnacle of the season, while it was a loss, was kind of that they're battling with Madison, and ever since then, it just seems like they've just kind of struggled.
Now that's a bounce back win for Yorktown because a couple weeks ago against Langley, their defense looked lifeless. They couldn't slow down Sandberg or what's the good running back's name? Robert. No, he's gonna kill him.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
Rockovitz. Are you talking about?
Rock.
Yeah, he's a beast. They couldn't slow them down. So that for Yorktown to come back and have, a good defensive performance is impressive too. I mean, you guys know their offense when they want to be as good as it gets. I mean, Drew Morgan's a fringe Division I quarterback. Brady Owens is going to be a Power 5 tight end. Max Youn's having an outstanding year. Max Toriano's having an outstanding year. Finn Luca, very underrated receiver for them. So Yorktown, good they got their stuff together because they're going to, like we talked about earlier, they're going to be a tough outcome playoff time. They always are.
Veteran coaching staff. They got talented players. I mean, they'll be tough out.
Yeah. I mean, Yorktown, like I said, you know how I feel about them. They are the Ric Flair in the Battle Royal. All right.
I thought you might have went Eddie Guerrero with the wrestling reference.
I did like Eddie Guerrero. I liked his nephew.
Cabo.
Yeah, remember he come out on the little horse on the stick?
Los Guerreros.
Yes.
Dropping wrestling quotes now. Love it.
Mount Vernon. I mean, and West Potomac. I know we kind of talked about this game briefly earlier, but we'll talk about West Potomac again. One of the hottest teams in Nova. Just mathematically, they are one of the hottest teams in Nova.
Yeah, I mean, 3 games over there. Mount Vernon, although tough preparing for it. West Potomac's not a bad football team. They had to play for them early. Now I don't know. We'll probably get to the game. Dom Sanchez did not play on Saturday. I'm curious if he played against Mount Vernon on Tuesday. I wonder that happened because he did not play on Saturday. So I think that's big for them because he's a big part of their offense.
Was that an injury or
we don't know?
Injury related?
My guess is yes.
I would guess it had to be, right? Senior year, last couple of games, probably.
I was gonna say he's a good player.
Oh no, we saw him. He wasn't suited up, Mason. We were.
That's what I mean. He didn't. But against Mount Vernon, did he play against Mount Vernon?
Oh, the Mount Vernon game, right? Yeah, I don't know. Probably, maybe something happened there in that game. But they are mathematically one of the hottest teams, and actually halftime of that because we were at the Mount Vernon, we were at the West Potomac game against Woodson on Saturday, and we had Mesa had already left. They had just left. It was at halftime, and one of the officials, nice man, extremely nice official, comes over and he says, "Are you one of the guys on the podcast?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I am." And he says, "I just want to say you guys are doing a great job. It helps us prepare every week." He's like, "We listen to it." And he said, like, for instance, I was not aware that Madison, this was their third game, and I'm not Madison, sorry, West Potomac. I wasn't aware this was their third game in however many days. And he's like, that kind of stuff is really helpful for us to know, and coming into a game. And I was very appreciative of that. Very nice official there. I was very appreciative of that.
Dude, I've told you guys every week. I try to get to a different stadium every week, and people were coming up to me like, "Oh, well, we heard you on all Hitches, man. Those guys are famous. You guys are growing." First,
Look
it was
at
the
that.
sandwiches. Then what are you on the network you're on now? What, the Believe Network?
Believe Network. Actually, and this will be our first episode on Believe. And
Yep.
you know, I'll be plugging more of the audio. Actually, now that you say that, we'll be plugging more of the. Like I said, nothing changed. But they are, they're Apple. They work with Apple and Spotify and all the audio podcasts. So obviously we're still doing the YouTube stuff, but you'll be seeing us putting out more of the links to our audio as well.
That's awesome. Congrats on that news, by the way. So you have the dash. What is it called? The dash and dash sandwich?
The Dash and Dan.
Dash and Dan sandwich from Celebrity Deli. You're on the Believe Network. Next thing, what's the next step? Taking over the VHSL for you two? No, might as well.
I was hoping Johnny Carson, but then someone told me Johnny Carson's not around anymore. I was a little bummed.
He's been like 20 years, but who's counting?
I live in an '80s bubble, Carl. I live in an
It's all right. It's all right. I'm here for the quotes. I'm just here for the quotes.
Johnny Carson guy is more of an Arsenio Hall guy.
Like Arsenio. The dog pound, baby. The dog pound.
Oh man. I'm just here for the quotes. Can
I ask you a question, Carl? And I should have asked you this earlier. Anyways, when you've listened to the pod, YouTube or audio, like on Spotify or Apple or both?
So it used to just be through like through the Twitter link, and then now lately, like the one you did live Friday, I did the YouTube because that had the whole chat. Because at first, like your chat on Twitter was just saying, "Hey guys, thanks for listening." But then I realized, like as you guys were talking on the YouTube chat, where was guys like Coach Richards, the Garfield coach, everybody were on. That's what I'll use. That's what I'm going to use going forward. That was fun. You guys clearly have a lot of people listening, and just to get on that chat with, coaches there, just talking football. To answer your question, YouTube.
Okay, so mostly YouTube. Okay, that's what and we've been pushing that from the beginning. But I know Believe, like I said, push their audio, so we'll be putting more of the audio links out there. But people will always still see our beautiful faces on YouTube. We'll always live and in living color. Yeah.
Even despite Coach Mesa's mic issues, he sounded fine in my opinion. I know he got some guff from a lot of people there. He sounded fine.
You did sound fine for the most part. You did it. It was just my brother called me. My brother said, "Hey, tell Mesa to fix his Wi-Fi at home."
Yeah, that was weird.
They were getting you on the chat, man.
I mean, it's because you have a mic showing. My mic doesn't show.
It's a prop mic, like all my other props. It's fake. Everything else in my life, it's fake.
Feels like every show, Coach Mesa has a different haircut too. By the way, out there, I'm all for it.
Well, it ain't gonna change now because my hair.
That's true. We're gonna watch it grow over the months. It's gonna be kind of fun.
Yeah.
There you go. Got the Christmas season. He's got to get some white out there. Santa beard.
Put on a Santa hat.
That'd be awesome.
Hayfield with the big win, 69-0 over Justice.
Yeah. Hayfield right now is the best team in the area.
Yep. They keep rolling. We'll talk about that. Talk about them on Monday, on the Monday Live. See what happens there. Big win for McLean. I was actually surprised by this. I would have picked Wakefield if someone would have asked me. Wakefield at McLean. McLean with a big win.
Yeah, and this keeps McLean's playoff hopes alive.
Yep.
Need a lot of things to break right for them, but it's always good going to the last game of the season to keep your kids kind of motivated to keep on playing, right? Because when the kids are out, I mean, I've coached both kinds of seasons where you're playing for the playoffs and where you're not. Those last practices when you're not playing for the playoffs are pretty tough practices. Not a lot of you're trying to keep the kids interested in it.
I was going to say, you probably have to deal with that sense too, like as a coach, you probably have to deal with kids going out, like thinking about other like winter sports too. Like they might have their mindset on that too.
And the kids just aren't motivated to play because they essentially they're just trying to go through the motions. They're like, well, we got one more game to play, and there's no reward anymore. The reward is get to play football, but yeah, it's just tough.
No, to your point, Carl. Though I've seen that specifically over the years. We're losing. It's not fun. And I got I mean, you pick it, right? I got my off season, basketball, my off season lacrosse, whatever it might be. I got that coming up, so I'm going to go ahead and just quit now, and do this. And it's just like, man, it's tough. It's tough to keep everybody motivated, and
But good on the Highlanders. They have a chance, even if they don't get in, to finish at 500 too. So good on them for not quitting.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Westfield at Chantilly with a huge win, 40-6. Chantilly now hanging on for their playoff lives.
Yeah, they have to get a win on Friday. Westfield, much like Yorktown, established program late in the year. They're getting ready for playoffs because that's what the expectation.
Absolutely,
a football program that's what the expectation is.
Yeah, for sure.
Talk about a tough out. Westfield's going to be a tough out.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they gave Madison all. I mean, the proof was right. They're the only team right now that's giving Madison all they can handle.
You could argue that they squib kicked that one. They squib kicked that one kickoff.
Yeah,
they win that game. Just don't kick it too nicely and they win.
Yeah,
and they beat Patriot at full strength too. Let's not forget that as well.
No, they lost that game.
Oh wait, never mind. That was a one score. Never.
They came back. They were down big, and then they showed a lot of heart in that game and came back. Westfield did.
So Westfield is it just 2 losses then, the Patriot and Madison, right?
Westfield has.
They played Braddock, didn't they?
They beat Lake Braddock. That's who I messed it up with.
That was the game they beat Braddock.
That's probably until yesterday the only team that's really given Lake Braddock any problems. Like
right.
It was them and what's called them and Madison.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the Patriot game early in the year.
Gotcha. Sorry, I couldn't get your squad, Coach Dash. I know how you love Patriots. So,
Well, we're going to talk about that.
I was wrong there.
That's actually coming up in the last game here in this part of Nova. West Potomac and Woodson, the game we were at Mesa yesterday or on Saturday. West Potomac, the hottest team in Northern Virginia. I mean, when you win 3 games in however many days, you are automatically one of the hottest teams. They went from out of it to right in the thick of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Maloney looked really good. I know early on he was like in the first quarter he gets ball many times, but then in the second quarter, the quarter I was there for, man, he is he's getting ready to sign, right? Isn't he getting ready to sign pretty soon with the Division I?
Yeah, Jacksonville lacrosse. Yeah.
Yeah, he's getting ready to sign. I mean, but he's just a phenomenal athlete.
Now, I do wonder. We're talking about Sanchez, and we'll know soon enough. They have a big game this week, West Potomac, but we'll know as far as we were talking about Sanchez earlier. Is it possible that they saw a couple games in their schedule and they were like, okay, maybe we might be able to kind of just get, he's kind of banged up, sit him out for Woodson, sit him out for maybe a part of part of Mount Vernon. Right. And maybe we can get him healthy for the playoffs. Maybe that was part of the mindset.
Yeah, no, I agree.
He's another one. Like Sanchez is a senior, right? Or is he a junior?
He is a senior.
He's another one before the season. Him, Kilmore, Knutson, that I thought were like fringe FCS level quarterbacks. And I could still see with the recruiting, it's kind of off topic, but like with recruiting landscape changing, I could see all 3 of them getting low Division I offers after the regular season.
I mean, like you guys were saying earlier, it comes down to for a lot of players now, and maybe these guys were legit offer guys back in the day, but in the new landscape, who wants to take a risk and be a PWO?
Right.
And if you bet on yourself, and it could be awesome, and it could also be tough and go the other way. You got to be willing to kind of grind it out.
Yeah, that's what like Trent Payne is in a situation like that too. I know he has he has the PWO from Furman. He's probably going to have a few more. Right. His kid's going to have to bet on himself. He's the type of kid I would, bias aside, I would bet on, getting a full offer because he can play. But there's a lot of kids going in that same boat.
Right. All right, we're going to take the hop on the bus, gentlemen. Hop on the bus. We're going out west, going to PW. We're going to watch a couple of games. We're going to start off with what I called one of the games of the week in a kind of a bizarro world kind of way. It was Hilton and Freedom Woodbridge, right? Both teams are kind of struggling. It was the first apples to apples matchup, I think, for both teams, which was kind of, they both needed it. And Mesa, you said Freedom scored their first points of the season, which is awesome.
Yeah, they scored 10 points. They scored 10 points. They gave the least amount of points they've given up all year. They gave 33 to Hilton. But Hilton, played well. Got a chance for them to kind of get off the losing streak, and congratulations to Coach Van Acker and his guys. I know they're struggling out there right now, but going into the off season, kind of getting that win close to the end, gets them feel a little better about themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a good building block for Coach Van Acker's a pretty young squad too. Go out, win one of their last games. I mean, he'll have his son under center next year, I'm assuming, and Hilton he'll build it back there. I think they'll be much more competitive next year. But it's good for them to get a win right before the season goes out.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Woodbridge with the big win over Potomac.
Yeah, to set up the Cardinal championship game, right? I mean, it's the Cardinal.
You guys predicted that too. I think one of you guys was saying that like a few weeks ago, wasn't it? Like
Mesa.
that. It could have been.
Mesa was all over that one.
It was me.
Yeah, I mean that's who would have thought? Because I was at the game last year and it was a pretty entertaining game. Obviously, neither team got in the playoffs, but now this year with Woodbridge's playoff lives on the line, Garfield getting a potential district title back for the first time in a few years. That's must-see television.
Yeah.
Must-see watching. Woodbridge is a team too that you do not want to play in the playoffs. They got a sophomore quarterback in Denari Hill who's making great strides. They got a freshman running back in Marquise Sharp who's been outstanding. Sam Massaquoi, he's been outstanding. Since coming over there from Alexandria City, and their defense. I watched them shut down Landon Hunt and company, who they have that massive offensive line a couple weeks ago. The Vikings defense is no joke. That's gonna be a fun one out in it's at Dumfries at Garfield this year. That's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah.
I agree. That's a huge game. All right, we got Gainesville over Freedom South Riding. Freedom South Riding, man. Those guys give it their all every week. Much respect to them.
Yeah, tough one. Gainesville now has a chance to make the playoffs. I mean, what's crazy is they've set themselves in a position now where they can make the playoffs, and depending on what happens with the Woodbridge game, Patriot may not. I mean, who would have thought that was coming, right? Who would have thought Gainesville makes it in Patriot after Gainesville, took it on the chin against both them in Battlefield, but. Yeah. But Freedom South Ryan continues to, go out there and give it an effort. It looks like they've improved some things. So yeah, hats off to them.
Yeah, no doubt. Unity Reed with the big win over OP.
Yeah, I know, Carl. You're big on Unity Reed. I mean, them building back that program. Osmond Park struggling right now, so they're definitely both of them play out the string, but get a chance for momentum in the offseason, right?
Yeah, Unity Reed finishing who they play. I forget who they play in their last game this week, but finishing with 3 wins, and guys, they were around this point last year too, but this was with, potential big time prospects and like Marcus Ferguson, Matthew Canoe, Jameer Brown, Tyson Noakes, that was with them last year. And all those kids transferred out of their program in this offseason. And the fact that they're still 3-7, and they've really been competitive all year too. Really, hats off to the Lions, because that is, in a conference that has 3 teams in Gainesville, Battlefield, and Patriot that are probably going to be region and state title favorites for the next few years. For them to compete like that, very impressive.
Yeah. And rounding things up, a lot of people's number one. We know it is not our guy, Mr. DMV. Himself, Chad Ricardo's number one, but a lot of other people like him. Battlefield with the big win over Osborne.
Yeah, big win. Osborne has had a good season, compared to where they were at last year. But Battlefield is they're definitely rolling.
Yeah, they're a machine right now. They are a machine.
I mean, Battlefield, has anybody, and I don't know if Patriot, what their story is going to be this week, but I know we talk with a lot of Battlefield kids like that, like their starters get pulled in these games a lot, so their numbers don't always look as impressive because they're blowing out teams. Has anybody given them anything this year so far?
Battlefield in their games? No, I don't think anything.
Nah, their defenses. You talk about great defenses.
Yeah.
Man. Now, what I question about, and I am. Look, people want to talk about. We get comments and texts, and they say, maybe a bias, an anti-West bias by yours truly. Maybe not. But I did like Patriot, so that kind of flies in the face of me having an anti-West bias. But Battlefield, I do question. Someone shuts down that running game. What are you going to do, Battlefield? What are you going to do?
Here's what is the most amount of points Battlefield has given up all season? Just take a guess. The most
14.
Yeah, 14. Carl, you got a guess?
I was going to say 10.
8.
Oh,
they give up 8 points. That was the most they gave up is Potomac Senior scored 8 points.
Now, I'm going to ask you this. Not their fault. Much like maybe Hayfield in National, right? Outside of they haven't played Patriot yet, and they're about to play a Patriot without the best running back in the state, maybe one of the best running backs in the state. So outside of, I guess it'd be Gainesville. Who's been their toughest opponent?
Gainesville. They got 6.
Right. So outside of Gainesville, who's been the toughest opponent?
Well,
Garfield.
Wasn't
that only like 14-0 at halftime?
It was.
Right.
That was the game. It was 14-0 at half. You're right.
I think you're right.
At the half.
So we're picking some holes in the Battlefield.
Yeah, but and as we get closer into the playoffs, we'll talk about some of these.
And I love Battlefield. Love the Battlefield community. Love the Battlefield players.
But hold on.
Love the coaching staff.
Patriot at full strength on defense. They scored 40 on them. They scored 40 on Garfield scored 40 on Patriot, and that's the Patriot defense at full strength.
Yeah, but the Garfield team right now, that's a different team than the Patriot. I mean, that was a long time ago, the Battlefield game.
That defense. I mean, we're talking about scholarship guys and they got a lot of those guys.
Look, it's going to play itself out. That's the beauty of sports.
Yeah.
The beauty of all this. It's going to play itself out. My whole thing, Battlefield's a great. Look, they've been the top 5 on my power rankings list all year long. The issue is going to be, like I said before, shut down that run. If you can shut down that run, can they throw the ball?
You got to score on them, though. You got to score on them. Shut down on all you want. Can you score?
It's true.
I think it's kind of the narrative Battlefield's had these last couple years too, not just this podcast, but like reading about them too. It's like the regular season, they're unstoppable, but when they get to,
it's
like
been freedom. It's been the issue with them has been freedom, and that's the issue for everybody. So
it's true.
Anyway,
that's true.
And we know people from Battlefield listen to us. So unlike these other places in Prince William that do not,
that's true. That's true.
Battlefield, I think they're
fun. Coach Dash. Send all places Coach Dash.
Send all hate mail my way.
I think Battlefield knows though. Like they know. Like, okay, this is cool. Another perfect regular season, but doesn't mean anything until we get to the playoffs.
With freedom being gone, they have to be thinking to themselves, this is our opportunity.
Yeah.
Well,
I agree.
Well, that brings us to our final segment, maybe the best segment.
It's the most popular segment in here. According to
it is the most popular segment.
It is our spike. Everybody listens to this segment.
That's probably because it is the most respected. VHSL loves it.
They do.
They retweet you. That's free advertising.
It is the most respected and well-regarded top 10 list in the entire state of Virginia.
Oh, man, I'm honored just to be a part of this segment.
And actually, maybe you can, while we're talking here, and while Hootie and the Blowhard are talking, you can jot down your own top 10 list while we're going. You can kind of share yours here in a second.
All right, let's do it.
So quickly jot one down while we kind of set this up. All right. First things first, as we get into this week 10 power rankings. First things first, we have a party, and not everyone is invited. Matter of fact, I was really cruel with my invitations this week. Very cruel. I was uninviting people left and right. I'm getting sent to the office for bullying people because I'm just not inviting people to the party. I only brought in some invitations, didn't bring invitations for everybody. All right. And here we go. I'm going to give you some of my uninvited. But they are close. I said, you know what? You guys can I'll get off my property, stand by the mailbox. Stand by the mailbox, and I'll tell you when you can come in. All right?
Yeah, did that do the truffle shuffle before you invite it in?
Stand over there, and I'll tell you guys when. No. Now you get off. I'll tell you when. Hang on. First, Yorktown. Yorktown playing great football right now. They're getting hot. Woodbridge, same thing. Great football. Might win the conference next week. If they do, they make the invite. Centreville, one of the hottest teams in football right now. Love them. I love Centreville. They're on the door. Westpo, mathematically the hottest team in football because they play 10 games in 1 week. All right. And then Langley, who fought hard, finally made the top 5 list, and then a great WNL team knocks them off. So that is my invite list. That's the pre-invite list. They're waiting for an invite next week. We'll see what happens.
All right,
Coach
5 I
Mason,
have.
What do you got?
I've got Herndon, Fairfax, Gainesville, West Springfield, Yorktown. Well, that's what I got.
Tough list. It's a tough list. I invited some of those guys to my party. You're a real jerk.
I'm curious why I invited you. Did not outside.
Carl, you got anybody that is almost making your list?
Almost making the list. I can't believe Langley didn't make your actual top 10, but okay. I definitely, I had Langley in my top 10. I might have had Herndon in my top 10 too, looking back on it, but I'm still going with West Springfield on my almost. I think they've turned the corner. They seem to have their quarterback situation squared away. I'll go with West Springfield on my almost made it list. I also want to add Forest Park to my almost made it list, even though they're, been disappointing for them. They're not going to make the playoffs most likely. They had a nice win last week, and shout out to Landon Hunt. He had 298 rushing yards in their win. He went over 1,000 yards. He's had a great career for the Bruins.
You know what? I'm glad you said that because amazing. We were talking about Landon Hunt before we got on air, and what a stud! What a stud! He had a great week, and he's
Just a great kid.
Multiple time winner of the All Hitches Player of the Week award. He's a stud.
Yeah, I hope somebody picks him up. I know I haven't heard anything yet. I think you might have your ear to the ground. I hope if someone gets him, they're going to get a really good kid. But he's another of those kids that we talked about before. Is right now the victim of the current landscape of college recruiting.
Right?
Are you going to take a running back who is young and he looks like he might be something, or are you going to take a kid who's playing for Temple and has had a full year or 2 years of college football, weightlifting and speed training and carries, and take him instead? So
let me tell you something. Landon Hunt would make a lot of schools in my hometown or my home state of the PSAC very happy. I think, in my opinion, he'd be a great Division II running back.
I agree, but and then when the guys jump out of that's the issue. But, all right,
I agree. I agree with everything you're saying. I think as these Division II schools wrap up, Landon Hunt's going to be a big time priority for a lot of them, and hopefully, because I'm biased, I hope he's in the PSAC because I still keep up with the PSAC football too, and I'd be able to watch him more.
Okay.
Right. Well, here we go, guys. The top 10 list on the most respected top 10 in all of Northern Virginia. Top 10 for me. Number 10. God bless that defense in Herndon. Josh Richards. That one of the best defense. There was a news article written about Josh Richards and his defense just recently. I mean to retweet that. But Herndon, number 10. I love him right now.
Just a recruit.
At 10, I got Patriot. Patriot. Wait, did you not have was Patriot? Oh, never mind. You have Patriot in there?
Carl, number 10.
I got Langley. I got Langley in.
Okay. All right. Solid. Number 9. Gainesville.
At number 9, I like them better. Langley. I have Langley at 9.
All right. Carl, 9.
No, Herndon. I got Herndon at 9.
All right. That defense. Josh Richards' defense turned things around over there. All right. Number 8. Vossler and Westfield. The wheels keep turning.
At number 8, I got Woodbridge.
I'm going Garfield.
Good pick. I like that. All right. Number 7. One of the hottest teams out there right now, West Springfield. Nobody wants to see them.
At 7, again, I like them better than Carl does. I like Garfield at 7. I got Garfield at 7.
Carl.
I have Gainesville at 7.
Yeah, I like Gainesville. Number 6, I like them better than both you guys. Garfield. Look at that. What? No Prince William bias over here, gentlemen. Garfield.
At number 6, I like them better than Dash does. I got Westfield at 6.
Yeah, I got I was gonna say I want to put Fairfax in my top 10, but I just can't do it after their loss. I'm going Westfield at 6.
There we go.
All right, there you go. Now at 5, and this is where the big boys play. 5 and up. Where the big boys play. Here we go. This has got a where you got to be 13 and up to buy the music. What was that? Remember back in the day when Two Live Crew came out with the album, you had to be a certain age.
I'm just thinking about NWO, WCW right now since you dropped
This
that
is
line. I'll
parental
be honest.
advisory. If you want to make this list, you gotta have an adult.
Tipper Gore. Remember, Tipper Gore was the one who headed that off.
I'm just thinking about the NWO now since you dropped this is where the big boys play. That's all I care about. My rankings are done now. That's all.
That's it. Where the big boys play right now. Number 5, Lake Braddock coming on. Trent Payne in the defense.
I got a feeling that this is going to start to match. Number 5, I have Lake Braddock.
Wow.
Me too.
Wow, look at that. The consensus number 5 team in all of Northern Virginia, Lake Braddock. Congratulations to Braddock. All right, here we go. 4. The Mad Scientist, Ludwig, W&L at number 4.
I also got W&L at 4.
Wow.
What do you got 4?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, W&L.
Hey, look at that. The trifecta, the number 4 team in all of Nova, W&L. Wow. Oh, it's getting good. We're going to differ here, though. This is where we break off, gentlemen. This is where we break off. I know it. Number 3.
I think
love their defense. Madison, number 3. Tough Madison defense.
At number 3, I have Madison.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm going to just break the ice. I had Madison too, but now I'm going to go Battlefield at 3.
Oh.
After hearing that stat that Mesa quoted you earlier, you're still.
I know. Well, I actually watched Battlefield handle. I think I told you guys this at that scrimmage preseason, but I just wanted to be different. We can't do all the same things. I mean, you're the hottest podcast in Virginia. You know, you gotta spice things up, guys.
Wow. So he's going Battlefield 3.
You're gonna get banned from covering Battlefield games because apparently that's a thing they do out there. Just ask Chad Ricardo.
That's funny.
I like that. That was a good one. 2, Battlefield allowed. What'd you say that the most points they've allowed all season is 6 points, 8 points?
Yeah. And
they're my number 2, Battlefield.
I got Madison at 2.
Madison, you can't argue that.
Yeah.
Can't argue that.
Can't argue history either. They've been in the finals. Right there. I mean, you can make the argument they had to play Freedom later, but still, they were there in the finals. And
well, number 1 for only a few times all year have I done this. Number 1, but I mean, I said they'd earn it. I said if Patriot did something to get knocked off, which they did. Now you could say I was a little harsh. Maybe I should have taken Patriot completely off my list and not even on my street. I told him to just get off and I told him to get out of the neighborhood.
Maybe
that might have been a little harsh. But
bit.
either way, Hayfield is my number 1.
At number 1, I have Milliken football still number 1. More league champs. First time since 1985. No, it's not Milliken. They beat Hayfield though. I have Hayfield.
Hayfield.
same here.
Hayfield, the trifecta with number 1. We're gonna know a lot more come Monday on that. I can't wait.
Do we have to have a rules committee meeting to figure out if our top 10 list will still consider not be considered for the top 10 if they're not playoff eligible? Will we have to have a rules meeting about this? Will there be a vote and
I would say ask the VHS out, but they won't help.
We'll reach out to all of the heads of our homeowner associations, and we'll allow them to take a.
That's funny.
They have a lot of power, those homeowners associations.
They do. That's why I feel like going and paint my fence right now.
Oh man, gentlemen, that was a fun week 10 kind of recap. That was a good episode, guys.
Yeah, no, it was fun.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Always
yeah,
love
of course.
having Carl Frederick from Prep Red Zone, the Adam Schefter of Northern Virginia.
You got, every week now, people are like, "Oh man, you're the Adam Schefter of all Hitches." Man, ever since you guys dropped that quote,
that is awesome. So we'll be seeing everyone probably live on Monday, sometime in the afternoon. So drop in, stop by, say hi on the chat, all that good stuff. Carl, you're welcome to jump in there too.
Heck yeah.
And kind of break it all down. See what news comes out of Richmond.
Yeah. There may be no news, but all good news is good news. With Gary
or no news, but even no news could be worthwhile reporting, right?
Oh yeah.
You guys could be like on the VHSL staff by Monday. Who knows at this point? Who knows? Anything could happen. You guys are the ticket. You got a sandwich named after you. You're on the Believe Network. You're famous. So
that is fantastic. Love it, guys. It's been awesome time. From Carl Frederick, Prep Red Zone, Coach Mesa, and Coach Dash. We'll see you guys next time on All Hitches.
See you.
all right.